Michel Barnier doesn't really need any introduction in this town. He's obviously in charge of one of the most busy portfolios at the European Commission, responsible for internal market and services. He's going to have to leave at 1 o'clock or thereabouts. So without further ado, I'll pass the microphone to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning to all of you. And first, I want to thank the European House and Rossetti for your invitation, and yourself, Valerio, and your team for this report. And it was necessary and useful for me and for my team to listen to you. And frankly speaking, I'm impressed by the quality of this work, and especially by this very useful benchmarking between the different states of union. And thank you to you, Wolfgang, for your kind words. I'm not sure to be the most effective commissioner. Try just to do my job in the most effective and political way, and not to be a kind of a technocrat and bureaucrat of Brussels. Since 2005, the Euro Observatory on Europe had focused its research on one question, and I understand that this question is the main question of your work today. How can we improve European integration and competitiveness? And when you are in the States or in China, it's clear that our main asset, the main reason why we are still respected, is the single market, with 500 million citizens and consumers and 22 million of businesses. And the paradox is that in that time we face, the single market is, in the same time, our main chance to go out of the crisis. And it could be the first victim of this crisis through the rise of protectionism and the rise of populism in the polls that we see in every country at that time. Let me just cite a few well-known and often repeated figures just to describe the situation we face. Zero growth is expected in Europe this year. EU unemployment is at 11% and above 20% for young people. Many companies have trouble accessing finance to launch new projects, and spending on research and innovation is down. All this is very worrying, in particular since other economic areas of the world show that faster than expected recovery is possible. The US should grow by 2.6% next year, compared to only 0.9% in the Eurozone. And the OECD put it recently, the crisis in the Eurozone remains the single biggest downside risk facing the global outlook. Ladies and gentlemen, in spite of this, there is, in my view, no time for catastrophism. It's time to deliver what we have already agreed on, to keep calm, and to put all our decisions in a political and in an economic perspective. How do we address this situation? First, by improving our governance and fiscal discipline. And frankly speaking, important steps have been taken in the last few months. Steps that would have been unthinkable as recently as 2 years ago. Unthinkable. The member states are taking radical steps towards fiscal consolidations. On average, deficits in the EU have been decreasing over the past 2 years. 25 member states have agreed on the new fiscal compact, which calls for very strict rules on government deficits. This treaty now needs to be ratified as quickly as possible by these 25 member states, including France. The European Stability Mechanism, providing 800 million euros as possible country support will become operational in July 2012, this year, and it already works, as we've seen, to face the necessity of capitalization of the Spanish banks a few days ago. Last but not least, we have agreed on a close coordination of our national economic policies. The European semester includes a collective right to review the annual budget of each member state before it is finalized. No one denies that these are tough decisions for Europe's leaders, tough to implement, and even tougher to explain to citizens. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is possible if we find the political courage to explain and to convince. And what happens in Ireland a few days ago and yesterday in Greece are real proofs of that. The reality is that we have only two options: going ahead together or going back everyone on his own. We can no longer have a monetary union without an economic union. A second challenge, we need to continue our financial regulation agenda. And I've given to all of you, to each of you, this framework in three colors. I tried to have this agenda always in the last decision we have taken in three colors, and my goal is to change the color from green to orange and to orange to purple in every week. It is a part of the single market. Only one single market, including the 27 member states. Only one single market, including the financial markets and the financial services. If we want citizens to trust their banks again, if we want populist parties to stop rising in national polls, if we want European financial institutions to be strong and successful in the face of global competition, then we need to make finance serve society and serve the real economy. This is my key task since I took office more than 2 years ago. And we are making good progress. The European Commission tabled in early June the last of the 29 texts translating the G20 commitments into European law. We have set up 3 new pan-European supervisory authorities. We now have rules for previously unregulated players, such as hedge funds and credit rating agencies. We are improving financial markets effectiveness, integrity, and transparency. We have adopted rules on short selling, credit default swaps, and OTC derivatives in more or less the same time that the United States. And we are laying the groundwork for banking union with enhanced supervisions, common rules for all European banks, a European system for protecting depositors, and a European framework for bank resolution. We want to make sure that taxpayers will not pay again for the failures of banks. Our goal remains unchanged: no financial player, no financial product, and no financial market should escape effective and clever supervision. The third challenge is clear. We need a growth initiative for Europe. All European and G8 leaders now agree on this. We need to make better use of the European public financing systems, like structural funds and the European Investment Bank. And I am pleased that the European Parliament and the Council recently reached an agreement on a pilot phase for project bonds to finance transport, energy, and telecommunications infrastructure projects. But, ladies and gentlemen, we also need structural reforms. Some member states are taking bold steps to reform their labor market, to achieve more flexibility for companies, less red tape, and more security for workers. Italy, in my view, is a good example, and the direction of Mario Monti. We must encourage these initiatives, and they must be complemented at the EU level. That is why the Single Market Act is key to the European Growth Initiative. As you know, the Single Market Act was launched in April 2011. It's a direct line of the Monti report. It includes 50 proposals, very operational and concrete proposals, and I've also given to all of you this short document with the 50 proposals I include to the benefit of European consumers and companies. And today we have already delivered 40 of these 50 proposals, including the 12 key proposals. For instance, we have proposed simpler rules to help SMEs access to public procurements. We want consumers to have more opportunities to shop safely and effectively online. This means building a real digital single market. We want to reduce the cost of protecting innovation in Europe through, first, the creation of the unitary European patent. Now, on that point, I've proposed this patent 1 year ago. The European Council needs to find an agreement next week on the last issue, and I think we cannot wait any longer. And we want also to encourage funds investing in venture capital and social businesses. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, since April 2011, the Commission have not wasted any time. All 12 key actions of the Single Market Act are now on the table of the European Council of Ministers, and also the European Parliament. It is now for the Parliament and the Council to take their responsibility and make sure that all initiatives are adopted by the end of 2012. As for us, we will not stop here. We will go further and propose new actions to relaunch the single market in the second phase. At the end of this year, the single market will turn 20. It will be the right time to launch phase 2 of the Single Market Act. It is, frankly speaking, still too early to have a list of the new actions involved. We will present them in the autumn, probably in September. However, I can already mention some guiding principles for the upcoming measures. First, I am in favor of keeping the balance of the current Single Market Act. I will therefore go again for 12 levels of growth with 12 new key actions for a competitive social market economy. And the 4 words are important: competitive social market economy. Second, we will select the new initiatives on the basis of their impact on growth and jobs. Third, we will focus on where the single market is not working as well as it could, for example, energy, transport, services, and the digital single market. In this context, I would like to thank, frankly speaking, the European House and Brosetti for this extremely visual analysis and the state of the European growth of the Single Market Act. I would like to thank you also for the proposal for complementary actions of the Single Market Act, which very often converge with our thinking. Let me mention the improvement of access to finance for SMEs, labor mobility, completion for the digital single market, and also social business, to name just a few. We will take your ideas into account when deciding of the next set of measures. In addition to launching new measures, we have also to make sure that our initiatives are properly implemented. On this aspect also, your report is interesting. One, the patent, obviously, as already mentioned. Two, the full implementation of the Services Directive. This could add, to be clear, the full implementation of the Service Directive could add from 0.8 to 2.6 points more to the EU GDP by 2020. The Commission has just adopted last week a communication on the implementation of the Service Directive. Three, on a more general level, a better governance for the single market. We want member states to commit to zero tolerance for late or incorrect transposition of directives, areas such as services and network industries. And we want infringement procedures in these areas to be limited to 18 months on average compared to the current 25 months. The Commission will monitor the situation in an annual report, which will contribute to the preparation of a country-specific recommendations in the context of the European semester process. And I agreed with Olli Rehn to complete the semester process, not only on fiscal and budgetary aspects, but also on this aspect of the single market implementation rules and the competitiveness also, to face what you have called this challenge of competitiveness. And perhaps I can add the double challenge of competitiveness, the competitiveness between us, inside the EU, and between the member states, and perhaps also the second challenge is the competitiveness of Europe compared to the other regions of the world. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, 20 years after its creation, it is time to launch a renewed single market, updated to meet new challenges, especially the digital economy, equipped with the right tools and properly implemented. This is necessary if you want the single market to bring real benefits to the citizens and to the businesses. And this is necessary if you want the single market to be a driving force, helping to shape the future of Europe rather than the first victim, as I said, of the crisis. You just show a slide with a very famous sentence of Mario Monti saying that the single market is more and more important and more and more unpopular. And I think that the job of the different actors, the job of the commissioners, the job of the politicians is when we see that something in single market, first of all, is necessary and important, to act in a way that what is important become popular and not unpopular. Thank you for your attention. Yeah, sure.
Well, I'd just like to offer the opportunity for you to put any questions to the Commissioner, the former Chancellor, Valerio. Just before use my right as the Chairman really to ask the Commissioner two things really. One is whether in the area of financial services you're concerned that perhaps St. Augustine's prayer may apply, that Lord, make me virtuous, but not today. That while more financial regulation is needed, that the timing of it is problematic, particularly at this time when financial institutions are talking about how they need to deleverage, how they need to reduce their assets, and this kind of thing. And doesn't seem to be helping the growth picture at all. My second question really relates to whether you're concerned, or how concerned are you that this sort of integration as it happens in Europe, given what we've seen in the last year, may be something that may be happening at a level of 17 or at least a smaller number than the 27, and that that there are dangers in what we're seeing of the single market, breaking up into more than one, or further breaking up.
Thank you, Chairman. I will try to answer in English. Even I think that we need also contradiction. One of your proposal to keep the cultural diversity. But Chairman, every day my concern is to be careful about what I can call the cumulative effect of what we are going to decide and these new regulations for financial service in the line and to implement the G20 agenda. We cannot have a short memory. We have to. We know that from where this financial crisis is coming from. A lack of transparency, a lack of supervision, a lack of liquidity, a lack of responsibility in the financial services in the banking sector. Some of the banks. And the reason why I am totally determined to implement this agenda, but in the most clever way. And try to be very careful about the cumulative effect on bank, on insurance company, on the pension funds too. And I'm a little bit concerned on this aspect. But we are going to deliver this agenda in the most clever way to avoid this cumulative effect on economy, on the real economy. I'm also concerned by another point, which is what the others are doing. Because we were not alone around the table of the G20 in London, Washington, or Seoul. We were 20. And I pay a lot of time. I made last week my 6th visit in 2 years in the States to be sure that we are building at the same time a level playing field, and especially from the two sides of the Atlantic. If I correctly understood your second point, it was on banking union?
No, it was more. Excuse me. It was more general. I suppose about the prospect that integration is being talked about now very much at the Eurozone level rather than at the EU level, and whether you are concerned that really is going to lead some to effectively to peel off or fall away from the single market.
It's precisely the reason why I said in my speech that there is only one single market, including the 27 members and including all dimensions of the economy. And first, the financial services. And as far as I can, I will work and I will continue to work to implement these rules for 27 members. It is possible if the European Council next week decided to go further, for instance, on this idea of banking union and to propose more stronger direct supervision, more unification or pooling the resolution funds, or more federation or pooling the guaranteed deposit schemes, to go further vis-à-vis my own proposals. It is possible that some of the member states do not want to go further and ask for opting out. But all the pieces I worked on and which are in this framework as far as financial services are concerned, the supervision and with a new role of EBA, the European scheme for credit deposit, the implementation of Basel III regulations, and the last proposal I put on the table for resolution, and the next one on the separation of risk in the banking sector and the regulation for the shadow banking. Frankly speaking, I think that these 6 pieces needs to be implemented at the EU level. If some want to go further, it could be useful to have an emptying out, but these 6 pieces are be built for the 27 member states.
Chancellor.
Yeah, so I take the privilege to be maybe a little bit less polite than the chairman. I mean, honestly, if you want to have a single market, you can't have too much opting out. And to my British friends, it is de facto impossible to ask to have a co-decision power, but staying outside the regulation. I think this is not possible. So at the end, we will have to make a judgment. And I fully agree with what Michel said. There is a need to keep the single market functioning with all the 27 or 28 with Croatia, 28 member states. But this requires really solidarity, even in regulation. And this is a big question, probably next week. May I ask something to Michel? You rightly mentioned the quality and the importance of the single market. But I have the impression that most of the average citizens of Europe do not know exactly what the single market is all about. And we spoke in the previous discussion about how would we be better off without the euro? The answer is clearly no. But would we be better off without the single market? I mean, this is something we should really transport to the average citizens. That there's a need for not PR, but information. And this is not only the question of the Commission or the competence of the Commission. I think also the member states and the business community should be much more engaged. This is an enormous lack. They are always sitting and listening and watching what is going on, but nobody is really taking the opportunity to explain the single market. And last question, the structural funds. The structural funds are so important, more than 350 billion or something like that for the next 7 years to come. So isn't it the right time to bring an additional clear focus on growth to these structural funds? I know that most of these structural funds are more or less decided by the nations, not even by the national governments, but mostly by the regions or sub-regions or communities, municipalities. And I think there is fine and nice little secretaries for promoting, let's say, the Vulkanschinken or something, a specific agricultural product or whatever. But an additional growth aspect must be implemented in the next 7 years program.
The first point, Wolfgang, I agree with you that we need, as far as possible, to keep the 27 members on board when we are working for the single market. And until today, frankly speaking, no real problem to do that, even in the financial services sector. For these 50 proposals, I got very strong support, for instance, of British government for single market, and also in the financial service. I worked a lot to have on board on these 29 regulations, the 27 members, and we reached last week an agreement on the Basel III implementation rules for banking sector by unanimity at the Financial Minister Council. And it was also the case for the regulations of the derivatives and a lot of text. And I worked a lot to have the 20, and especially the British government, because London is the main city for financial services. And I think we have to keep this line. On the popularity of the single market, it is a main point. And in my first hearing 2 years ago in front of the Parliament, I said that I want during these 5 years to work and to act to reconcile the citizens, the consumers, and the small businesses to the single market. And it's the reason why, in the line of the Monti report, I work a lot to find with my colleagues. It's not my own work. It is a collective work of 13 commissioners. We work a lot and rapidly to deliver these very concrete and very operational proposals for businesses and small businesses, for instance, for the public procurements or for the financing, for the social business too, for mobility, for the patent. And now we are ready to act as soon as the Council and the Parliament votes our text. But I think we have to do more. And perhaps a good idea for Ambrosetti and ladies and gentlemen, each of you, could be to take part on a new initiative we are going to launch in October during 1 week, a single market week for new growth. All the Commission will propose debates, conference, public debate, and perhaps to use in a more effective way the social networks to create a public debate on and decentralized debate in each country, even in each region, on the single market challenges. Are the 2 points I want to make.
You know,
and then perhaps the last point, I agreed also with Wolfgang that we need to put the structural funds, 350 billion euros for 7 years, in line of the EU 2020 agenda and the competitiveness agenda. I already make a real step in that direction when I was in charge of the regional policy as my former and the first mandate of commissioner in the Prodi Commission, and I think we have to go further now. To create a strict conditionality of the funds through the regions, because we need to have the regions on board to win the competitiveness challenges. We need to have all the regions on board. It's the reason why we need to work with the regions through kind of contracts, but to create a conditionality.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but I have to leave for another meeting with businessmen or women, perhaps.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your intervention, and I think there's nobody here would disagree. Well, it's been repeatedly stated the importance of the single market. I'm sure they'll take your point, that the point that seems to be, or many people see it as being most needed for economic growth. It may be most in danger. But thank you for your intervention.
Thank you.